All right, so in the introduction, I talked about kind of my style, if you will, of early season and late season being super mobile, and then we get into the rut. And I am a lot of guys here will know Bobby Worthington. You know, you've heard that name, and he is a big rut funnel guy, and his system has really rubbed off on me over the last 10 years, and to the point that if I get drawn in Kansas, I know the exact 4 trees that I'm going to hunt the entire rut. If I go to Kentucky, I know the exact tree on a north wind that I'm going to hunt. I've already looked those properties over. I know right where I'm going to get. Somebody's laughing. So this property right here is one I had the ability to hunt an 1,100 acre piece or this 70 acre piece. And the guy asked me which one I wanted to hunt in the rut. And without ever setting foot on them for the first time, I said, well, I cannot make a decision until I go walk those properties and actually see which one I want to hunt. So I went to the 1,100 acre first, and I guess we'll back up a little bit on how you actually find a funnel. A lot of people here know that, but I'll hit on that. What I like to do is when I got to that 1,100 acre property, I went in and found a deer trail. And this is February, March, where you can really see them well. And I just started walking that deer trail. And what I'm looking for is where another trail or a third trail or a fourth trail or a fifth trail, they all come together and there's some geographical feature that pushes them all together. It may be a big bluff. It may be a big ditch. It may be a fence. I've got a place at home in South Carolina. There's a duck pond and it's got a fence around it to keep the hogs out. Well, at the end of that duck pond, those deer funnel around the end of it because they can't jump in it, so they funnel around. So that's a man-made funnel. But there's a lot of them that are natural too. And this happens to be one of those properties. But anyway, the 1,100 acre piece, you would think, my gosh, I've got 1,100 acres to hunt in the rut. It's going to be great. There were 5 or 6 trails in there, but it was just a hodgepodge. There was no real rhyme or reason of how they went, and you would just be absolutely guessing on where you were going to hunt, versus really using math and thinking about how you can stack the deck in your favor. So I went to this piece, and we started down here. We came in off this private road, and there were a bunch of scrapes on the field edge. And then there was a big trail, so we started following that trail, and it started going through here. Then all of a sudden, there's a trail that comes up out of the bottom. We hit that one, and they're not together yet, but all of a sudden, there's 2 trails. Walked up this way, there's a third trail coming down this way. There's a 4th trail over here. And the further we went, the closer those trails got. And we got to that point right there. Now, that's pretty obvious from a topo point that that's really steep. It's a giant bluff that drops off to that river. Every single one of those trails, it ended up being 5 of them, they all came and made one big trail right there. And then once they got past that bluff, they all split back up. It was big, long-range travel corridors. So what I did is I hung a stand right here. There's a little ditch on this side that even helps more. And you've got this road, but they were crossing that was a paved road. So it's really a 2-sided funnel because there was a ditch here. Does everybody know what that means, a 2-sided funnel? It's not just the bluff. There was something on the other side that pinched in on that. So you had stuff on both sides, terrain features on both sides that pinched everything down. When you have a single-sided funnel, the deer can still get off to the other side further. It doesn't pinch them all the way down. So hung a stand in here for any west wind. Obviously, this is dead north. Any west wind, northwest, November time frame, Kentucky, you get a lot of north, a lot of west wind. So it's blowing off that bluff. In the mornings, thermal's going up, no problem. In the evenings, thermal's dropping. It's going down into that river. The problem with this property is access. How am I going to get to that spot? You think, okay, I can come in the river. Well, there was 5 inches of rain right before we got there, and it was 12 feet deep. I guess I could have taken a boat and gotten in on the river and then used some type of rappelling gear to get up that hill, and maybe that was an option. But what we elected to do, because it's a funnel scenario, is take the least quickest path of resistance, and that was off this road straight in. Now the deer are going to be walking across there, and we've got video of the buck I shot coming in, and he actually smelled where I walked, and I shot him right there. But we came straight off the road right into the funnel. And as long as there is not an earthquake, this spot right here will be good forever. And if there is a big deer in this area, anywhere, and he is between does, he's looking for the first doe, he's looking for the last doe, he is going to come through there at some point. And that's where persistence comes in. When you're hunting funnels in the rut, persistence is really what it all boils down to, because you'll hunt that spot for 3 days and not see, you see 1 or 2 deer, and you're frustrated, and you want to bounce around. And again, this is a way, this is not the only way to do this, because there's other guys that bounce around every single day. They're super mobile, and they go from spot to spot. Personally, I like to get in that funnel and stay, because mathematically, I've got 5 or 6 trails that all come to that point right there. And luck would have it that the first afternoon we saw 2 coyotes, and the next morning I killed that buck coming through there, and it was very early in November. So the does weren't in yet, and he came right through there. And when I go to hunt Kentucky this year, I already know exactly where I'm going. I don't have to scout anything. I'll get a couple cameras around here just to see what's in the area. And I really feel like if there is a buck in this area that I want to kill, I can kill him right there in that tree. And I've kind of found the same things in Kansas, same things in Ohio, and not all properties are set up like that. But if you're looking for real funnels, it sounds simple, but go in February and March and walk those trails. Just get on them and follow them, and then all of a sudden another one will get close, another one will get close, and when they all come together, because of some type of geographical feature, that is the spot to hang and set up. Yes, sir?
Is your stand on the high side of that bluff or on the low side?
It's on the high side.
Okay.
Yep. It's on the high side.
Okay.
Yep. That's where it is. And the access was the only problem here. I mean, in a perfect world, yeah, I would have used a little canoe or a little boat, slipped in right there. It was really thick down in here. I was a little nervous about that in case there was any bedding going on down in there. And I just wanted to come right off the highway and zip right across, and it absolutely worked out. Any questions? Yes, sir.
What time of year would you, obviously November, what would be your start and end date that you would hunt?
Yep, so my rut hunting really starts the end of October, and I look at the weather. If it's 5 to 10 degrees cooler than the average temperature that time of year, I'm in that tree. And it may be, if I can get away with it, it may be 15 days in a row. If we got a west or a north wind, I will be planted right there every single day.
Till about Thanksgiving?
Till about Thanksgiving. Yep, exactly right. Yep.
Only hunting that for the rut?
Yes, sir, I'll stay right there. If there's a deer in that area I want to kill, and it has really, really, really paid off. It's just, to me, it's kind of math, right? I mean, you've got 7 travel corridors. And what I mean by that is, you're going to have little faint doe trails that lead out into these fields. But I'm talking about beat up, long range trails that are going from big block of timber to big block of timber, and they all come together. And you've just got to be persistent and stay the game. Stay in that spot, and it can absolutely pay off if you've got the time. It may be one time. It may be one time at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, he comes through there and you get a picture of him and you weren't there. It didn't work. Heath?
Joe, can you elaborate a little bit on how you actually fine-tune that spot, bending over trees?
Oh, yeah. Heath and I did some stuff in Tennessee this year. And so once you do find that spot, I will put a couple mock scrapes in there because they will come through there fast a lot of times. I mean, when they're cruising and really looking, you sit there for 7-8 hours and, you're nodding off a little bit. And that buck comes through there fast, it can happen like that. So putting a couple mock scrapes in there can really help. Also covering the tree, some things that we do. Again, the Bobby Worthington School of Hunting. We can take, if you've got a big bare tree with some saplings around it, you can take ratchet straps and ratchet those trees in and really build you a nest up there, put some back cover. I mean, some guys have even taken like old Christmas trees and put them behind it. So you can, if the tree that's the tree you need to be in, but you need more cover. Obviously height, Cody and the guys talk about being low. Maybe you do need to be low depending on what the cover is going to be like in November. But if you've got a spot, it's a bare tree, it's a small tree. Man, they're going to skylight, they're going to see me. You can create the cover in there to cover up and get plenty of stuff. Yes, sir.
So how, if you're doing all day sit there, day after day, how are you fighting like the thermals specifically if it's a big?
Yeah. So this is a giant bluff. So in the mornings, obviously, they're going up, so I'm bulletproof there. And in the evenings when they settle, as long as I've got that west or north wind, they're going down into this river. They're dropping behind me. Like I'm facing the funnel right here. There is an opportunity where that ditch was to put a stand for an east or a south wind, and access would be way better. It's not as good because, again, the thermals, when they start dropping, I'm scared they're going to come right into the funnel.
Can you talk, Joe, about like what you're sacrificing when you are sitting there? Like, what are you giving up to hunt, and what are you hunting, or are you giving up anything? So, like for example, like with that.
Well, you're giving up fresh sign, right? You're giving up all of that fresh sign, all of those. I don't care where the deer's bedded. I could care less where he's bedded. I don't in the rut now. Early season and late season, I do absolutely care about that. But during the rut, I mean, if the funnel's got some historic rubs in it, some historic scrapes, some fresher rubs, I mean, that just makes it that much better. But you're giving up all of that.
I think maybe more like from a wind perspective or thermal perspective, because you're hanging up so high and close to that private road, you may give up that thicket that you were talking about.
Yeah, I'm giving up everything in this bottom.
Yeah, so you're giving that up
Yep.
in favor of everything moving that slope.
But because the trails showed that. You know, there were some persimmon trees down in here that had dropped earlier, and it was really, because I killed my buck, he ran down in here, and I kind of walked around in there after I killed him, and there were persimmon trees in there, and it was sexy. And it was a spot, man, when those, yeah, you like that? Yeah. All right, you've derailed me. But yeah, so that would be what you would give up there. Yes, sir.
Hearing how bulletproof that is for the rut, then are you avoiding the area any other time?
100%, 100%. Don't go. I haven't even gone in there and put a camera out yet. I'm going to go in September and dump a few in there. I'll put one right in the funnel and then on these field edges where these scrapes will end up being, and then I'll stay out of there until we get to that end of October when the weather starts to drop and those bucks are starting to get itchy to get up and move.
So your funnel is actually on the top side of that bluff and not in the river bottom?
That's correct. Yep. Yeah, they literally can't walk down that bluff. I mean, I guess they could, but they would really have to want to do it. You could do it, but I'm not sure anybody else could.
You let the moon phase dictate like at all?
Not during the rut.
Okay.
I'm going to take, if I've got a small vacation, like I can do 2 weeks, and I know that there's a big deer in that area, I will be, and I've got a west wind or a north wind, or even a southwest wind, I will be in that tree nonstop. Yes, sir.
You hunt the exact same tree?
Every single day. Yep.
Are you taking your stand down, or are you leaving?
Leaving it right there. It's a private property.
Okay, and I'm not worried about that. And so I started doing a thing where I started taking my bottom. If I leave a tree stand, I'll take my bottom 2 sticks, because I've seen where the deer will smell. Where I leave my deer, they'll smell something. I hung a camera one time. I had a deer smell the camera right after I hung it, and I didn't see any deer for a couple days there. So are you doing anything like that to mitigate your smell? Or are you just leaving all your sticks?
So the camera, the stand, and the stand's already there. The stand is in that tree right now. I haven't moved it. When I go in there in September, I will be putting cameras in there in September, not planning on hunting until late October, and I'll replace the straps yeah, I'll replace those straps in September.
Steps off the tree as you go? You leave it all, you're not worried about it?
For that particular spot, no, I'll leave it all right there.
I have a pretty guaranteed spot where deer, no matter what day I go through it, so it's like the same thing. But I always take my stand down every time, and it's a pain in the ass, because you know now you're...
Yeah, but if you put it up there now, if you put it up there in the summer and leave it, man, when they come, and a lot of times, again, those bucks are cruising. We're trying to kill bucks that are looking for does or either following a doe through there. So yeah, I mean, they're on the move, man. I mean, you got to have it is the most frustrating. Anybody in here ever like marlin fished or sailfished or anything like that? So you know how it is. You sit on the back of the boat for 5 hours and you're bored out of your mind, and then all of a sudden a marlin or a sailfish hits and it goes berserk. That's how real rut funnel hunting is you sit there for hours and you try and stay off your phone, and then bam, and if you screw it up, that was your opportunity. It's over.
So you obviously found this on the map with topography. Do you think there's anything you can do to manipulate the terrain or like the foliage to make it better?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. There's other ones that we've got, like a lot of the ones in South Carolina, because we really don't have terrain features. So what we'll do, like the end of that duck pond, for example, I was talking about earlier, this fenced in, I will hinge cut trees on the other side of that pond and force those deer closer to me. So you can hinge cut and create a funnel. I mean, there's lots of ways you can do it. I mean, I've heard of guys even putting in like old fencing and stuff. I'm not going to do that, but you can do things like that. Brush piles where you can't cut trees on public. You can go into public and drag logs in and brush piles. They're not going to want to walk through that, especially in the rut when they're coming through there fast. You know, they see that pile and they're going to naturally go where you want them to go. Anything else? Yes, sir.
On that spot, is your exit the same as your entry?
Same way. Same way. Yep.
Are you actually crossing the deer trail? to get
Yes, sir. Yep. You know, that's not ideal. Bobby talks about skunk oil and Limit-Trax and rubber boots and all that, and yeah, anything you can do to mitigate it. The point being, the deer that comes through there is probably coming through there once or twice, and you're going to kill him when he comes. You're not going to see 50 deer a day. This isn't sitting on a field edge. Again, it's sheer boredom for hours and hours. But the math to me makes a lot of sense because I've got 5 long range. I mean, one all the way up this river. You know how trails are along rivers. One up here, one out of this field from this big block over to this one from this block over to this one, and they all come in right there, and then that bluff forces them all together.
How valuable is like historic trail cam data in a place like this? Like, would you see a spot like this where it's like every year a buck's coming through there on November 3rd? The same, like that's his move. Like, is this the type of spot you would take advantage of that info?
100%, and time of year, right? I would blind hunt this. I don't need a trail camera necessarily, picture of a big deer to hunt this spot. It's such a good funnel. You're in Kentucky, you're in Western Kentucky where big deer are, big genetics. I'll blind hunt that, no problem at all. Yes, sir.
Here's, I don't know if you could answer it or not, but you got any tips for dragging big old deer out them freaking bottoms?
So
I've seen little techniques here and there, but I don't know.
we used one of those carts, one of those like hand truck carts.
Yeah, I got a deer cart. That thing's a real bitch.
And yeah. It is. I had 2 guys that helped me.
You ever try taking I've seen people take like a big fallen branch and they'll try to you got a buddy and they'll try to tie it. I've never done it before. I've seen pictures of it.
I did it last year.
If you're that back far in, man, just quarter.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I killed one in South Carolina in a cutover. It was a small tree and cutover spot, and there was no way to get a 4-wheeler or truck or hand truck or anything. It was just deadfall and nastiness, and I deboned him and quartered him and packed him out.
Yeah, that spot's nice because his access is so close that he can get back and get a pack out of his truck. But if you're hunting, some of the spots I hunt are a mile to 3 miles deep, it's accessed the same way. You may not be able to get in there. If you're packing your .5 or your saddle setup in, just bring a frame pack, or a shell frame, and then stow it 3/4 of a mile, half a mile away from where you're hunting. If you shoot one, then you have a lot lighter trip out to get your frame pack.
I used to stand with the frame pack. I shot a doe and I packed her out so I was way back, and that worked great. I just put the quarters in a game bag, and you have your seat, have a seat on the .5, .75 all sticking like that. I just did that. I just put it right on top and strapped it across, and that worked pretty good.
My rule is kill the deer and figure it out later.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. You'll get him out of there, right?
Right, it's coming.
But I guess the point being, guys, is it's a different. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Just to add to that, curious if you guys have had experience in Wisconsin. We're required to break it down into a minimum of 5 pieces, and you do have to remove the entire carcass. Has anyone, yourself included? I mean, how do you advise that? I used to guide elk hunting years ago, and I would take it under. It's the same thing. You had to remove the entire thing, and what we would do in that scenario is hang a lot of the meat in trees. Take paracord, hang it in trees, and then unfortunately pack out what you can carry and right back in to get it. Pack out what you got to get. But yeah, I mean, you got to get everything out.
That's actually a good question.
Have you ever had to pack out a deer in Wisconsin on public, whereas you had to quarter it into the minimum 5 pieces?
Yeah.
What's your experience?
So how I've done that in the past is the trickiest part is you got to bring out like a spinal column in Wisconsin, which is really tough because it kind of defeats the purpose of quartering. So it becomes like a 2-trip endeavor. You know, if you're familiar with like quartering something out west, you can leave rib cage, spinal column, all the things, right? So it becomes a 2-trip type deal, right? Your first trip is going to be packing out quarters. You know, if you can do it in 1 trip, awesome. If not, like just, you know, take as much time. But yeah, I'll pack it up just like you would like mule deer or an elk out west, throw it in your backpack, and then in Wisconsin, you'll have to bring that spinal column out. So I have an extra game bag, like just, it's one of the Arcology, like elk game bags. And that's what I'll take out the spinal column. And just so you're not getting all that stuff all over your back, you know. You could just throw that spinal column in there and be totally fine with it. But if you go with like a big Super XL like type game bag, something that you would take, you know, on an elk quarter or a moose quarter, a whitetail spinal column that matches, you just take it right out. And the ribs are awesome. Don't overlook smoking the ribs. Yeah, seriously, like there's some really, we did it at, we have a thing at Vortex where we'll do like, you know, fun recipes around the office or whatever. And, you know, Mark on our team, Mark and I made up this like deer rib recipe, and they had people totally cool. Like you never would have told me that was like venison ribs, but man, they were phenomenal. Really good. Yeah, that's the benefit of taking it out.
You can't walk a bike, right? Like no e-bike, no pedal bike.
Yeah.
I'll say this too is like, do not try the over the shoulder with sticks.
Yeah.
I doubled up last year, shot 2 does, 1.5 miles back, and called a buddy, and we put a tree over a dead one over each shoulder. We were sore for like 2 weeks. Don't do it.
That's I figured out later. It worked.
Well, yeah. But to keep them just swinging and everything, it's ridiculous.
But yes, sir.
Joe, on like day 3, you know, you're hunting that hard, you're sitting all day. Do you ever use an ester scent like a Hail Mary on that day, or do you let it ride?
Man, I don't do a lot of scents. I will in the mock scrapes. Troy's here somewhere. Is he outside? That buck fever synthetics, a lot of the mock scrapes, I'll set some of that up and use some scent in that. But during the season, I really don't. Really, the point here, guys, is this is, you know, kind of a different tactic during the rut. It can be sheer boredom, but you really are stacking the odds, and it can be done on giant public. I mean, like your mountains, man. I mean, I can't imagine the funnels you can find up there that are just insane. Or a small tract like this. This is only 70, 75 acres, and again, unless an earthquake hits this thing, it's going to be good forever. It's a spot that's going to be great forever.
When you're pounding a spot like that in November, I mean, do you start to worry that like the 4th, 5th, 6th, and on day that you're hunting that the bugs are coming across your ground scent after you're out at night, and that you might be like blowing the spot up?
No, not this one. Maybe a little bit because the access is not ideal. If I was coming in from the riverside, man, I would hunt that thing, and I will hunt this because again, it's that one opportunity. You know, it's that one time that buck comes through there. Again, I did know about this deer, but a lot of times I left my camera in there. I had 2 other really nice bucks getting closer to Thanksgiving when the rut was winding down. Came right through there, and if I hadn't killed a deer in Kentucky and I was still in that tree, I would have shot one of those bucks. So it's
I'm not as concerned because of the infrequency that they're
the infrequency.
banking on the fact that they're not going to be there, or it's not going to matter because of how rutted up they are. Is that kind of
Right. Yeah, I don't expect him to make a bunch of trips through there. Yes, sir.
I want to flip that completely 180. So you're hunting that with the northwest wind, you're blowing your scent to that bottom.
Yes, sir.
Okay. With the way this is set up, how can you not hunt that with the wind going completely opposite? And would you find that bottom holding your thermals and want to hunt above the thermals as they rise in the morning?
So all the
would you flip it and hunt it with the wind literally going up that hill, or no?
So yes, if you flip, I mean, in a perfect world, the funnel would be over here, right? And I could access here, and I'd need an east wind. Or I could probably get away with a morning with the thermals going up
and not an ideal wind. But
So if I was hunting blind like that in that situation, personally, I would plant myself right in the middle. Regardless of the wind, maybe it's not predominant, but if I'm going to throw a shot at something blind like that, the way that sets up and is so tight, I'm going to put myself in the middle of that to where he's going to come right through my wheel.
yes, so I can shoot. I mean, this is not big, and where all these trails come together, the furthest trail is 24 yards. So I would, instead of getting in the middle of it, I would rather be on this edge. So yeah, I mean, all of this is all the trails are shootable.
That's a bulletproof setup.
It is unbelievable. It is unbelievable.
If Joe's, one of the great things about where Joe's set up right there is with him being on that point and those deer, they can't come below him, right? Because that bluff is so steep. So that's why he's giving that away. But for a big mature deer, if there's oaks on top of that hill,
oh yeah,
presumably there's a thicket down below. There's probably more. There's field off there to that west side. So the likelihood of a mature buck running that edge to wind all of that on a west wind is highly likely. So for example, if Joe was hunting that on an east wind, which he could do, there's a chance that that buck swings up and around or maybe dips in further. By tucking himself up to that bluff right there, he's forcing that buck to come in front of him, and then that buck thinks he's out of that buck knows there's no danger on the bluff, right? That's his thought process. And he's not worried about doing that. He's worried about smelling that field. He's worried about smelling the oak flat. He's worried about smelling where those Joes are. He's worried about winding those scrapes, even if he doesn't check it. So Joe's setup, why he's giving away that bottom, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, is because on a west wind, anything that's running that hillside is winding all those fields, all the acorns.
Yeah, he's searching. He is searching. He's trying to find a doe, and he has run a gauntlet. Maybe up here, there's a huge block of timber up here. He might have done his thing up there, and he's going over here to find a new doe, or he's going back to his home range over here. He's been out, and he's coming back.
I have a question. So, is there a reason why you wouldn't hunt that bull on the other side of the, like hanging on the
here?
If you go down. Yes. No. Well, that's a great question too. So, is there a reason why you wouldn't hang on this side of the bluff?
Yeah. Yes. Because two of the trails were up here, and I'd miss them.
Oh, so they're coming in off the field.
Yeah, they're coming in off. They're coming in. They're paralleling this road, and yeah, you could get in there and you could get three of them. But the point being, you get to where you can cover as many as possible. So back to finding funnels. When you get on that trail, when you go in February, March, and you're following that trail, and all of a sudden there's another one that comes in. Heath, how many times do we do this in Tennessee? Yeah, I mean, you follow the trail, and then here comes another one, and it intersects, and here comes a third one, and you have that point, and you keep following, and then they branch back off. You come back to that spot where they were the tightest, and that is the spot. That's how you stack the deck and have the better opportunity for rut funnel hunting. Yes, sir.
Okay, if the target buck busts you, are you sticking out there, or what's your next move?
If the target buck bust me.
In this scenario, you don't have a target buck.
Well, I did. I did have a target buck, and I killed him. But let's say I missed him, right? He came in. Yeah. He missed me. Man, in this scenario, I'm probably going to stay there because, like I mentioned, during Thanksgiving or right before Thanksgiving, I had two other bucks come through there. This is I won't say once in a lifetime funnel, but it is one that you would have multiple chances of deer coming through there. If it was a pretty weak funnel and I blew the deer out, I'm probably going somewhere else, especially on a 70-acre piece.
Did it take you a long time to get to this point? Like when you were younger, were you bouncing all over the place, and now you were like, you know what, after seeing all this, this is why you do that?
It's been the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Truly, I was the mobile crazy man.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
That is exactly how you hunt the rut right there.
That's exactly how I hunt the rut. Yep. Yeah, that's all. I mean, like I didn't get drawn in Kansas this year. I got a preference point. So next year when I get drawn, I literally know the 4 trees.
That's like in Pennsylvania, I have half those spots. I already know where I'm going to be.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Just my last follow-up with this. So you're never going to get in that funnel unless that wind is right northwest. Or would you ever hunt it? You get there, you got 3 days. This is the best spot. This is all the trail. Are you hunting with the opposite?
I do.
Set up?
So like I mentioned, there is a ditch that comes down here that makes this a two-sided funnel, and I do have a east-south stand that if that scenario presented itself, I got 3 days, and I got 3 days to south, and it's 18 degrees, and I've got multiple trips, I'm going to send it. I'm going there, and yeah.
Because like, if you only have 3 days, this is the best I've got. The way that terrain is so aggressive, they're going to move through there.
Correct.
And what I was following up with earlier was that bottom there behind it's thick. In my opinion, it would be like more of a hub where those thermals are going to fall. So if the wind is in your face there, those thermals are going to pull up to it. So my question was, would you find bucks still cruising that top with an opposite wind?
No, I haven't had that happen because most all of the trails, again, are right through here. We walked all this, and especially after I killed that buck and went down there, and there's some feed trails. And, what's that? There is some sign in that bottom, but nothing like what's up here. And you talked about giving up something. I'll give that up 1,000,000 times to be able to focus on that. Anything else? Yes, sir.
So are you like encouraged, so you say you hunt it, trying to get it out, trying to get it out. Are you encouraged when you don't see him because you know he's going to come through there?
That's the mental, that's the persistence, the middle side of it. And the way I look at it is I am 1 hour closer to killing my next deer. And so it's as hard as that is to go over and over and over, I'm 1 hour closer, I'm 1 hour closer, I'm 1 hour closer, and stay the course. Yes, sir.
You talked about a scenario that I've been going to Southwest Minnesota for 5 years, and you talked about a once-in-a-lifetime funnel. I have like the same exact situation. I've hunted there 5 years, and I've killed 5 big mature bucks in 5 years. So 3 of those within the first 2 hours of setting stand up. No intel, no nothing. And I have the same thing you do with access. But when I'm going to the stand, I'm making a beeline so the deer comes left or right towards where all those trails pinch. By the time they hit anywhere I block, they're dead.
Yeah.
I'm getting shot. So.
Justin, you asked us earlier about being younger and bouncing around, and we did so much of that. And it is, if you can phrase it like this, it is boring hunting until that magic happens. It's simple because you know right where you're going, you know exactly what wind you need, and you're going to that spot. But as far as year over year over year over year success, during the rut can be a very difficult time to hunt because stuff's going crazy. Those super, super tight funnels where 5 or 6 long-range travel corridors all come together is deadly.
It happened to me last year. I told you, I was bouncing around this farm the whole time, and if I would have just stuck with my gut and sat where I needed to be, I would have killed him.
Yeah.
So.
But then, early season and late season, completely different tactic. I'm as mobile as anybody that time of year because it's food and they're doing different things. And so I'll be mobile and I'll break down and move and hang and feed trees in our big swamp. Different ones dropping acorns early. That time of year, I'm super, super mobile. But we get to that October Halloweenish and the temperatures start to drop. Tight funnels. Yes, sir.
Are you trying any battling or growing in that time, or just sitting?
I just sit. Collect my thoughts. Add to a camo line. I got notes that are tenfold.
This adds into the point of just tossing half your gear.
What's that?
This adds into the point of just tossing half your gear.
Yes.
All right, guys, any last questions? We're going to move on to our second map. So last chance for questions for Joe.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so what are some of those other tips and tricks you've learned in the last 5 years to kind of streamline and be more efficient mobile hunting?
Things that I have learned in the last 5 years mobile hunting. I think, and this is going to sound pretty rudimentary, but I think all the things gear-wise that you can control and being super efficient with it. We're going to go over here and we're going to look at the new sticks, right? We're going to go look at these new sticks, and I got to have these new sticks, and I'm buying a set of those butterfly sticks. But I promise you, I will have hung those things in my backyard 5, 6, 7, 8 times before I ever take them to the woods. Being efficient with all your gear and controlling what you can control. The shooting practice. If you're a saddle guy, we talk about that all the time. Shooting out of your saddle, out of your stands, everything that you can control, treating it almost, and this will sound over the top,
like a pro athlete approach, like a Tom Brady approach. You know, don't take anything for granted and do everything like a pro. And so that would be something that, you know, has helped me is to keep that mindset.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe.
All right, thank you guys, appreciate it.